This video is going to walk you through the writing and execution of a simple Java program. To follow along, you can go to the Java Basics part of the online notes, and it's at the beginning of the Java Basics notes where we talk about writing and executing your first Java program. So here's the classic simple program, the Hello World program, and you can see that we have to embed the program within a class that we call Hello World, and that we have a function called main, and specifically static public void. This is all important. Void is the return type. It returns nothing. Public declares it as publicly available to everyone. Static says that it is a class member as opposed to an instance member. We'll get to that later. And then main takes a single array of strings as its arguments, and that's from the command line. You'll find out later that you can query an array for its length, and therefore the length is not required as a second parameter. Now, when you're writing a Java program, the correct way to do it, if you're writing a simple program that's not particularly object-oriented, is instead of putting the code you want executed in main, you actually want to put the code to execute in the constructor for the class. So here I've done it in the constructor Hello World. And you'll see very simply I output Hello World. System.out.println prints it out, prints a new line character, hence print line. You'll see that I declared the constructor public, and you'll see that inside of main I created an instance of it. There is no need to assign that instance to anything because all I'm concerned about is the side effect of printing Hello World. And if you want to execute this program, you'll type javac hello world, so let's do that. And now to compile it, I invoke the Java compiler. Now to run it, I run it at the command line by invoking the Java virtual machine, and you see that it prints hello world. Also, if you look at Hello World, or at what happened, the Java compiler created a .class file for Hello World, just like the C++ compiler creates a .o file when it compiles a source file. Now the .class file is what contains the bytecodes. You'll notice that when I typed Java, I did not, and Hello World, I did not include .class. So the Java virtual machine automatically appends the suffix .class. And just a few other notes. Remember, main must go inside the class, must be declared as static public function that returns void, and it takes a single array of strings as an argument. Okay. Now, you'll notice that I use this somewhat unorthodox looking style of putting the code into the constructor. You're going to be tempted to try to put stuff into main, and that's a bad idea when you start having to call functions. So here's an example. Here's a simple program in C++. And it's calling a function called sum and a function called multiply, and they're very simple. Sum sums its two integer arguments, returns them. Multiply multiplies its two integer arguments and returns them. So that's how the program would look in C++. In Java, the comparable program should be written as you see here, where I put the calls to sum and multiply in the constructor for arithmetic, and in main I simply call create an instance of arithmetic calling its constructor. That's the right way to do it. The wrong way to do it, and the way that you're going to be tempted to do it, is like this. This looks very C++-like. So I'm calling sum and multiply from main, just as I did earlier. See how I did it earlier? You're going to be tempted to just copy this down into Java, and you will try to compile it, and it won't work. And you'll be puzzled. In fact, let's do that now. Let's actually take this program, compile it, and I get two error messages. Non-static method sum cannot be referenced from a static context. I am not going to get into a lot of discussions about this. Just know that when you have a static method like main, that if you're going to call a function from it, you also have to declare the functions it calls as static as well. The reason is somewhat arcane. I don't want to get into it at this point. If you're going to try to write your main just like you would in C++, then you're going to have to declare a whole ton of functions static. You're going to tend to forget to do so, and you're going to get a lot of compile errors. Do it the Java way. Get into the habit of putting your main into a zero-argument constructor and just having main call or create an instance, a single instance of the class calling the constructor. That's the right way to do things.